Welcome to Keep the Hotel Empty. Today we've kept the hotel empty for record producer, engineer, recording artist, the man Sidney Austin.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here again. Thank y'all for having me here. This is an amazing setup. It's ducked off in the middle of town, like right in the drop center of Sarasota. I would have never found this. This is beautiful, though.
Yeah, I call it the reverse bat cave. We go 7 floors up instead of 7 floors down. Because you would never know it's here.
And look over the city like him, too.
Hell yeah. Well, I'm stoked to have another audio engineer in the room. And whenever this is, I'm blessed with this occasion. It's hard for me not to try to spiral off into nerding out way down the rabbit hole.
I feel that.
But I'm going to do with you what we do with most people. I'm going to press rewind, aptly this time. Press rewind, take me back to where music comes into your life and you start to have this passion for it that starts to feel different from some of the other things.
Well, I think it goes back to it definitely goes back to when I was younger. My father, growing up, he was a local DJ. A lot of people in our neighborhood, like the old heads, know DJ Super Yak. So back in the day, him and his friends, they were a clique. They were going to shows, DJ battles. They were doing parties, block parties.
Nice.
By the time I came around, I'm like the youngest out of all of my siblings. I was born in 99. So by the time I come around, he's like at the crib. He's got the setup. He's spinning records. He's got a man cave where he's spinning records all day through the house. I'm listening to like Funkadelic, the Commodores, the Whispers. I'm listening to all the old soul records. And my mom was the one that put me on the R&B, and then my brothers closer to me put me on the hip hop and rap. So it started when I was a lot younger. All of my brothers and a lot of the kids in my neighborhood were playing football and getting into sports by the time we were in elementary school. My dad, for some reason, saw me and was like, I put all this money behind your brothers and they didn't stay and do nothing with it. So you're not playing football. You're going to do something else. So I went from wanting to be a wide receiver to playing drums and fumbling around on the keyboard, and that's where I kind of got like.
And how old were you at that point?
I was probably like 6 or 7 years old. However old you can start like little league football, because I was already showing signs. I had the little thing you could set the football in to like practice kicking. I had a little tee off. I was like playing quarterback and running for the ball and playing wide receiver too. Like I showed the signs. I could have played, but he saw more in me, I guess. He was like, nah, you're going to do something else that I feel like you'll actually love. He must have knew back then football was not going to be it for me. He steered me so far away from football, it's ridiculous.
Well, good for Dad for having that foresight. Thank you for sticking with us. We hope you're enjoying the episode. We'd like to take this time to talk to our sponsor for this week, Tony Barrett from Barrett Realty.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate you having us on the show. Barrett Realty has been in business for 20 years, and we are a boutique real estate company, and I look forward to servicing our community with people that want to buy and sell property. I think it's very important that we're out there advocating for personal property rights, and we want to be the people that you select when it comes to buying and selling homes. So please, if you're interested in buying or selling homes in Manatee, Sarasota, or surrounding counties, reach out to us at Barrett Realty at 941-745-9999 or brmovesyou.com.
Again, we'd like to send a big thanks out to Tony Barrett, Barrett Realty, for sponsoring this episode and being an awesome part of this community. Please enjoy the rest.
And I'm getting more and more ideas. I'm like, okay, well, now I know we're not those guys, obviously, but let's just try these ideas. Let's just experiment. You know, you got an idea, let's talk about it. Let's see what we can do. You got an idea, let's see how we can. You got an idea, that idea is okay, but maybe we can add a little something to bring it out a little bit more.
Right.
It started opening up, like, you know, it's all about the communication, especially in that group setting. You know, if we all got ideas and nobody can communicate them correctly, then we're just gonna walk out with like a shitty song or a skeleton. The song's not gonna go nowhere. No one feels comfortable with their ideas. It started to just tell me like, hey man, just give it a shot. You know, you never know. I take that into my mixing now. Like people I work with, I tell them all the time, hey, I'm about to experiment. Don't get scared. If I don't like it, I know to take it off, but let me try something real quick. And I'm not afraid to say that or to just do it, you know?
Yeah, well, that's a bold move because artists you can invoke some accidental major insecurity.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, it's just communication. I just gotta, if you don't like the idea, I encourage you to tell me too. Like, hey man, I kind of see what you're trying to go for, but I don't know if it fits what I imagine. Because at the end of the day, the artist gets the last word.
Of course.
If they don't like an edit I did, they should tell me, and then it's not like I'm a fight for the edit. You know what I mean? It's an edit. I could just Control Z and it's gone, or I can Control Shift Z on Pro Tools and bring it back.
Right.
But I hope it doesn't make them insecure. I never really thought about that, but when I'm there, it's not like I'm trying to take a point off the record or nothing. I genuinely, anything I'm a part of, I want it to sound as best as possible. So if I have an idea for a song, I'm trying to only bring it out further. I'm not trying to hold it back. I'm not trying to let my creative ego shine, which is a thing in itself, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's like I'm not trying to let my creative ego outshine you. You're the head honcho of this project. I want to help you, though. I want to bring it to where I feel like it could stand on its own and be unique. I feel like that's the job of a lot of us engineers, right? Is to take the vision and make it something.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And do you feel that the early days in the band, especially as the drummer, helped you be able to see things from more that bigger, the bigger arc of the song?
Yeah, because the other thing too is like as the drummer, I was just laying the beats, and I wasn't like the most technical drummer. I didn't have like no jazz training or any traditional. I didn't do none of that stuff. I literally was 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. My dad got me a set. I was just making noise and I fell in love. Like I didn't take any sort of mentorship, but I was in a band with like kind of established. I say established because he played the guitar. I'm pretty sure he took lessons. He was like an established player. He wrote good lyrics. And then the guy he was kind of bouncing ideas off of was another established player. He played at the middle school in the band that I was in, like the class band.
Mm-hmm.
He was the jazz guitarist.
Oh, nice.
So I'm playing with these guys that already know all the music theory and stuff like that. But I'm sitting here and I'm just like observing, listening to them, and then I'll hear something they're doing and I'll be like, wait, you guys, what if we do it like this? And everyone's like, the drummer might be right.
Uh-oh.
But, it's not always that, and sometimes you have to be okay with that. Not every idea you have is a 10 out of 10.
Right.
And so you might have you might even get the guys like, the drummer's lost his fucking mind. It just depends.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really just a matter of maintaining some kind of open-mindedness where you're able to find out whether or not this is going to be a gem or a pile.
Yes. You got to be patient. You got to trust the process.
Yeah, so how do you do that? It's easy to kind of get anxious and want to get the product moving along. How have you learned to let the sounds come to you, whether or not it's in a composition setting or in a mix? Because it's a similar mindset applies.
Sometimes I feel like I just gotta step back. Sometimes I know now, jumping forward to where we are in 2025, now when I work on my projects, like my mixes, my songs, my music, sometimes I sit on a mix for a couple of months just because like I overthink. I'm always constantly learning, so I want to try new techniques on my music, stuff that I might not want to take the time on other people's music because they have a timeline and a life of their own. They want to get their music out, but my stuff, I'm more comfortable with it because I know I'm gonna put it out. It's just I'm kind of self-conscious about my work. I want to constantly take it to the next level. I feel like I'm a perfectionist all the time, but sometimes I just have to step back. Sometimes I'm so on top of the project that I start forcing things.
Yeah.
And that's where I really start to crash the project. It's like, yo, some of this stuff was fine beforehand. Like, I keep every version of a mix, every version of a master that I do. I have a song right now that's got like 10 mixes and 10 masters. And like, I've listened to some of the older ones and I'm like, you know what, there's something about this one that I like that's different on this newer one, this most latest one I have. And so when I do stuff like that, I just come to the conclusion of like, you know what, you did it again, you overthought it, you started diving into shit you shouldn't have, and now the project sounds different. So it becomes a thing of just knowing when to step back and just be like, let's take like a day away from this. Let's take like a couple of days away from this. Let's work on something else. Let's get our brain kind of onto a different project. Let's crash out and think about something else. Let's not focus on this for a whole month because you're going to fall out of love with the project. You're going to start the pseudoscience kicks in. You start hearing things that aren't there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in the studio some nights, bro, and I'm there till 4 or 5 in the morning by myself working on music. And I'm just like, I feel like I hear something in the speakers that I never hear before, but that's because I'm working on the song for hours on end. So my brain is just stretching out and grabbing stuff that's not there.
And that's a real thing.
That's a real thing.
Yeah. When
Yes.
that is a unique experience. If you haven't tried to focus your ears for like 6-8 hours at a crack, you don't know what it does to your head.
Yes, bro.
Because you do start to hear things.
Yes, you just gotta sit back. I mean, it's cool to unless you're on a deadline, I get it, but then it becomes a thing of don't procrastinate.
Yeah. Well, and just like you said before too, even when you're on a timeline, you can end up starting to work yourself in reverse.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So that happens too. I think at the end of the day, you just got to know when to back up off it and take that little break. Even if it's like, I'm on a deadline, this needs to be done by 12 o'clock tonight, take like an hour break. Take 30, 45 minutes, go for a walk, go get food downtown or something. Change your environment for a little bit too, because sometimes I have to leave the studio and go find my energy somewhere else and then come back to the studio. I've been here all day, like, so my brain is just, when I get to the studio, my brain is in work mode. So it's like the whole time I'm there, I'm constantly thinking, if I'm not doing nothing, why am I not doing nothing?
Right.
Why am I not working on something? What's wrong with me? You know what I'm saying? It becomes a thing of, like you said, just overworking, subconsciously overworking yourself. So if you got to leave the space, leave the space. That's cool,
Yeah, that's good advice. That's
Right.
really good advice. And I definitely want to get to your workflow as a mix engineer, but I want to build up there. So after you get going with the band thing, do you start doing gigs right away? How long before you start like putting yourself on stage?
Oh man, we had me and the guys, the Wicked End. That's what our group was called, the Wicked End. Shout out to my boys Josh, Matt, and Ilya, wherever they are. The Wicked End, bro. We had like a total of one show.
Yes.
One show. How royal is that? One show. It was in the Springs, Sarasota Springs. We had a homegirl. She threw a party. I actually met a lot of people that I'm still close to this day at that party, and yeah, they invited us out. We bro's pops was a trade worker or a painter or something like that. He had this van full of paint equipment, so we stuffed all our gear in there, and we went out there, did the show. We played Everlong. I played Everlong on drums twice. They wanted Everlong twice, dude, and that's like the worst song for me to play. I get a Charlie horse.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had the one show. It went good, and then after that, I didn't do another show until I started getting into like the hip hop scene and making rap music.
So how does that happen?
So I kind of skipped over it, but in 3rd grade, I had a knack for writing, specifically poetry. Like I still have the poem. Actually, it hangs up in my room to this day because it's like a monument to me. Because it's like, yo, this is what put me on this path to want to be a writer.
Awesome.
It's it was a poem about tornadoes, and I wrote it in 3rd grade for some sort of project. I don't know if it was school wide or what, but they ended up putting that poem like up on the bulletin board in the hallway for everybody to see it and read it, and like they announced it on the school morning news and all of this stuff like that. So yeah, just a little poem about tornadoes. But anyways, I had this thing for like poems and spoken word poetry because it was spoken word poetry to me is like the stepbrother of hip hop, like,
For sure.
if not the brother of hip hop, because you've got the flow, you've got the rhythm, you've got the performance aspect of it. You're just missing the beats and the instrumentation. But of course, if you go to some spots where they do spoken word, they have like jazz music or something playing behind it. So I had a thing for that. I want to say, what was Homeboy's name, man? I'll get to it. But by the time I had got to like middle school and high school, I was like taking my poems and turning them into raps. I remember in 7th grade, me and my boy Chris, we were writing in our notebooks. Our first period was math class. So instead of paying attention to math class early in the morning, we writing raps. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to get these rhymes out, you know what I'm saying? And that turned into like high school. I'm posting my poems and my raps up on Facebook, no matter how like cheesy they might have sounded.
Just strictly as lyrics.
Yeah, I'm just throwing them
poems.
up there. Yeah, I'm just writing the words up or copying and pasting them off a digital note onto my status update. And then from that, it kind of turned into like people noticing and commenting and being like, yo, Sid, this is actually really good. One specific person who, again, I'm still close with to this day, he's same age as me, but I look at him as like one of my mentors because he really introduced me into the idea of recording music and helped me figure it out. And that's my boy Derek Goborn Jr., Sir Indigo. He tapped into me one day. He was like, yo, bro, like you should consider like rapping because I don't know if you know this, but the stuff you post on Facebook is good, but it sounds like raps already. You just need the beats.
Yeah.
And so, man, I don't know if he did this to motivate me or if it was to motivate both of us because he always been involved in music. A lot of people know him for dancing like Michael Jackson. He's got his own thing going right now. He's his own artist. But back in the day, he was like the kid that could dance like Mike.
Awesome.
And so we started a group called the Intervision Music Group. And we started that freshman year in high school. We were both in dance class because I took dance for 4 years.
Nice.
And we were in the boys' changing room, and he looked at me and he was like, "Yo, bro, I ain't gonna lie, like." I feel like we could do this. Like we could actually do this. We could actually like take our music and we could record it, we can mix it, and we can release it. I don't know if we were thinking the ambitions of going major or anything like that at that time. We were just kind of like just fans of music, fans of Mike, fans of like old school R&B, fans of like old school 90s hip hop and stuff like that. And so we were like, yo, let's try this. You know, he's a dope MC. I'm a dope MC. And he can sing. Let's go ahead. Let's do it. And so he had me sign a contract, actually. I signed a contract. It was for 4 years. My whole high school term, I was signed to Intervision. I still rep it to this day, though, because that's like the stepping stone that got me to where I am now.
Right.
And that took on. Like me and Derek. Derek was one of the first people I performed my raps with on stage because he was involved in the community in his church. So we did like I did some clean raps. He was always like the clean rapper back then. So I did some clean raps, and then we would perform for like his church, or like one time he was tapped in with these people in Jacksonville that were throwing a like mini music festival. So my first time on a festival stage was next to Derek. You know what I'm saying? And that's my dog. That's why I'm saying like he's kind of like my mentor. He really like helped me as an artist to figure out like the path I want to take, and like even without all of the money and the resources, I could do it. He was the one that made me look at the Rock Band microphone that my mom got me for Christmas one year and realize this is a USB microphone. I could plug this into my computer.
Boom.
And I can record music now. And that's where that started.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Do you remember the first time you put one of your poems to a beat?
Yes, I do, and it was trash. But I'll tell you,
was it just you by yourself?
Yes, it was me, and that's probably why it was trash, because it was just me in my room. I didn't really have nobody guiding me. I was just kind of like, I've heard a rap song before. You know, I'm a drummer. I know how to stay on beat, and yeah, sure I did, but like that's the other thing is like now when you're making music, the voice now becomes an instrument. You know, and it's very important to know how to tune your voice and how to like do different things. You know, there's this thing called the rap voice. Your rap voice and your talking voice aren't the same voice.
Right.
So you have to know how to tap into these different, not personalities, but these different tones at like the drop of a dime. And that's what I didn't know in the early days. I used to rap with this very like whispery, monotonistic type of voice. Like Drake was he's still like a very big artist nowadays, but especially back then, he was kind of like the generational artist for us.
Right.
So like I was mimicking off of him. Like, I don't know, I couldn't even think of no lyrics like that I wrote from back then. It was all like cheesy, lovey-dovey, like ABC raps, but like with a Drake kind of tone, or like a Great Value Drake tone.
Yeah.
And then yeah. So nah, man, that had to have been again freshman year. I think the song was called my first project was called The Subliminal Mind of Sidney Austin. I'll never forget. It was like this Rasta lion with like dreadlocks and shit. That was the album cover. And there were 3 songs on it. A song called Scrape Knees. I got a song called You Were, which was the sad, depressing, lovey-dovey song that I was talking about. And then I had this other song that kind of talked about, like, again, going back to the Rage Against the Machine influence and the stuff I was writing for the band. It was kind of talking about, like, stuff that goes on in the hood and in the ghetto and, like, you know, how, you know, young black men die every day and the family has to carry on with that grievance. And, you know, I was writing stuff like that for my first raps. What was that, like 2015 or 14 or something like that? I don't even remember.
So you had been doing the band thing for a minute before you started.
Yeah. And I've been doing the band thing all throughout middle school. We played on and off freshman year in high school, and then once that was done, that's when I got into like full-fledged just rapping. Yeah, once I got that rock band mic set up, bro, it was over. I had Mixcraft 7. It was free. Like I could mix a record. I could bounce the record, and like the only thing that the free version of Mixcraft back then would do was like every like 5 or 6 times you stopped the project, it would like boom, are you enjoying Mixcraft Live? Yeah. If you would like to continue working on this project or continue unlocking all of our features, be sure you buy Mixcraft Pro. And like you could click off of it though once it was done and you get right back to working. So I was like, oh, that was just too good. Bro, off of that I dropped like 3 projects. I did 3 or 4 projects with Mixcraft 7. Yeah, bro, just starting out.
Well, being resourceful is powerful.
Yeah, that's hip hop.
Yeah, amen.
Being resourceful is hip hop.
Yeah, we were actually just talking about that earlier. There's, you know, the barrier to entry in that world has always been low because it's about doing as much as you can with as little as you got.
Exactly.
You know, so I'm with that. Okay, so you mentioned something earlier before you said that the guys that you were playing with had music theory and that you didn't, and now you're talking about working in a DAW, and I know that you've got some background in it now, but at any point do you start to get any formal education in any of these worlds, or are you just literally sponging it from everything you can get yourself to be a part of?
I would say I'm now starting to get more of a formal education, and I still haven't gone to full sale for it. Back in the day, I was more focused on being an artist. I still am, but now I balance that kind of goal and dream of mine with the obligation as a mix engineer for other people. So, but back in the day, I was just trying to record and just get these raps out. You know what I'm saying? Make some records, show a couple friends, show my family, see how, you know, everybody felt about it. That's what I was on back then. You know, the few times I went to a studio, like I said, I went to EJ with Derek a couple of times. I met a couple of engineers in the city that had like home setups or had studio setups. The OG Gino Mays.
Oh yeah.
There's a couple of guys, bro. And I would always find myself sitting somewhere near that engineer desk and watching what's going on that computer screen. By the time I started making music, like everything's in the box. So like, you know, there's no need to like really bother consoles anymore unless like you know what you're doing and you're using that console for a specific reason. But when I got in, you know, Logic, Pro Tools, FL Studio, Cubase, Studio One, like I've seen my music on all of them, you know, and I always just sat there and watched like how is he doing that, yo? Like I screwed up on that word. I said it too late. How is it in time now? How did he do that? When I first recorded that vocal, it sounded like I was recording it into a potato. Now it sounds like I recorded it on, I didn't know what one was back then, but now it sounds like I recorded on a Telefunken.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I was just always intrigued by how you can take the sound and kind of manipulate it however you want to, even as far as like the classic hip-hop telephone effect or like throwing distortion on the vocal to make it sound more aggressive and all of this other stuff, which is sparking my interest left and right and left and right and left and right. And then as I started to get further and further into that journey, and with age and experience, I started to like record myself at the crib. I was working jobs, so I was able to buy my first pieces of equipment, my own microphone. My first microphone was a Blue Yeti,
Nice.
Blue
classic.
Yeti.
That's classic.
Yeah, bro, the USB version.
That's classic right there.
And I was just screwing around with knobs, bro, just messing around. But now I'm on YouTube. I read articles. I like reading a lot. So like if I gotta read like a couple chapters out of a book to learn how Bruce Swedien was recording Michael Jackson, I'm gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? If I gotta watch an episode of Pensado's Palace to learn how Dave Pensado is getting down, or like Mixed by Ali or Jason Joshua or any of these guys that are big in that industry now, I'm gonna do it, because like we live in an era now where there's so much information. Back in the day, even when I was coming up, there's like a kind of gatekeeper type of thing going on. Not too many people wanted to express or like show you what they're doing.
You had to be in the room to know.
Right. You just had to watch and shut up and be a fly on the wall to like know, because you know some people don't like you asking questions. And so nah, bro, I took advantage of YouTube. I took advantage of the internet, bro, and I just started learning more and more and more about this craft. And even with the raps too, because like I got all of this music that I can listen to, all of these records from 80s hip hop, 90s, 2000s, all the way to back then to 2010s. So like I'm getting all these different influences and all of that just from kind of taking things that I see off the internet, seeing what other people are doing, and just seeing how I can apply it again, going back to experimentation, not being afraid to experiment. Like, yeah, I don't have the formal knowledge, but I've seen this compressor before. I've seen these knobs get twisted. I've heard things get louder. I've heard things get quieter. It's literally just like piecing together common sense. You know, you mess with a knob, see what it does, take note of it. You're like, okay, I'll come back to this, you know?
So what are some of the big things you learned along the way you wish you would have known in the beginning? Because trial and error it can be effective, but it is without a doubt the long route.
I wish in the early days I just knew the terminology. It took me, I've had my studio for like 5 years. It probably took me the first year of owning that studio to really, like, for example, know what an attack was or a release was on a compressor. I just knew if I turned these knobs, things get louder. I knew what a threshold was, you know, but like understanding the actual terminology makes it so much easier. That's like if I'm listening to a vocal, for example, and I hear something in the vocal I don't like, let's say like I hear a lot of boominess or something like that. Me back in the day, I would have just been like, either I need to re-record this or there's something wrong.
Right.
I'm just going to like screw around with these knobs until I figure out what it is. Now I listen to a vocal and I say, this sounds too boomy. Let me scoop around this 200, 500 area and see what I can find. If it's not there, let me try the 100 area, because I know I'm looking for a low end sound or a bassy sound. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that I can now kind of understand these terms makes the job a lot easier.
Do you find that being able to understand the terms made it easier for you to trust the ears you already were?
Yes, because those things kind of work in tandem, right? It's like if I'm listening to something and I feel like my ears are telling me something is too loud, something is too obnoxious, and I know what it is, it's a hi-hat in a drum loop or something like that, I need to be able to go on in there and find like the frequency range I think it is, the air or the presence, or maybe it is just that sheeny high end way at the end of the spectrum, wherever it's at. As long as I can identify the area, that makes it easier. Then I just have to use my ears to find what I'm listening for. I don't have to like sweep the whole frequency range and like just needlessly hear these random frequencies. I can kind of like find something, you know what I mean, and be a little bit more confident with the choices I'm making, because I feel like, oh, well, this sounds like it's it, you know?
Yeah, and you make a good point there too, especially when you've been working for a good number of hours, because if you start trying to sweep the whole range, you start looking too broad, you'll start hearing things that aren't there.
You're hearing a whole, yes.
And all of a sudden, my problem isn't just my high end.
Exactly, yeah.
But really, it was just your high end.
Exactly, yeah. So I think, learning the terminologies made it easier for my ears. I can just go right to the problem or go right to the area that I think the problem is in. And like, I won't say 9 times out of 10, I'm not that confident, but like 7 times out of 10, I'll probably be right on the mark as far as the area. Now I got to find the frequency.
Right.
You know? So, yeah.
I mean, even at that, better than being 0 out of 10.
Yeah.
Just turning knobs and hunting.
Exactly that, because man, and again that was what kind of like, I won't say it didn't bore me, but it was just like, how can I constantly swipe through these frequencies and not hear it? You know what I'm saying? It would aggravate me, but that drove me to go on the internet and be like, okay, Google, I am hearing what sounds like a very obnoxious, kind of airy, staticky, sounds like bacon sizzling in my vocal. What am I hearing? And then Google will be like, oh, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. Check these ranges. Check the 1,000 range. Check the 2,000. Like, check that whole high mid frequency area. You know what I'm saying? That's probably what you're hearing. And that just made it easier. Like, I feel like the more that I learned, the more that I was able to like read up on the internet and of course watch on YouTube and actually hear it. Then I was able to turn around and be like, this isn't rocket science. It really isn't. I'm at a point now with like mixing where like, again, I'm not mixed by Ali. I'm not EJ. I'm not Gino. But like, I'm good at what I do, and I feel like I'm confident enough that I can like listen to a vocal and listen to like drums or listen to a whole mix, and if there's a problem frequency, I could probably find it, or I can help whoever's working on it, find it. I'm that confident, where I can still help and be a part of the process where I need to be.
Right. Yeah, and that's the biggest thing, because then you give the project a chance to be greater than the sum of the parts.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, that's the job.
Yeah.
That's the job.
And that's really, I mean, I guess if you're lucky enough, that's where the good feelings come from too.
Right.
So you mentioned a couple of legends, one of them being Dave Pensato. His body of work is something I'm personally well familiar with.
Amazing.
And he came up mixing hip-hop and rap records before we were in the box and then in the box. So he's a very unique mind to go research from these days.
Absolutely.
I'm curious how much you find, I hate to say it, but the old way of doing things being the answer how to do things in this new world. How much of the old knowledge saves you when you're in the box?
Saves me a lot. Bruce Swedien, the guy that famously recorded and mixed Thriller with Michael Jackson, sat next to Quincy Jones for years. He has this thing about compression. He doesn't like using compression on vocals. He says it's childish. He says using compression on vocals is childish. Why that stuck with me? Because, well, now in today's age where we can have the hybrid setup, right? You can have analog gear and work in the box. Now you have this option of intertwining these two worlds, but the thing is, like, it can seem like glitz and glamour if you've never seen it before. You know what I'm saying? I know engineers around my age that like see this stuff and they want to use everything. Like, they'll run the microphone through everything. They'll want to put stuff on things that don't make sense just because it's like, yeah, man, I used to outboard gear. But here's the thing: it's like with me and tying back to Bruce Swedien, it's about having control. If I'm recording a vocal, I use compression. R.I.P. Bruce. I don't think it's childish. I think personally, and this is my, again, now it would have to go into the philosophy of what us as mix engineers think needs to be done. My personal philosophy is going into Pro Tools, I want as much control as possible, but I also don't want to do so much work.
So that was gonna be my question. You compress on the way in?
Yeah, I do light compression. I'll probably do we got a Rupert Neve Shelford channel. It has like a preamp, EQ, compression. I probably hit like 1 on the compressor, real light. I'm catching,
just shaving the peaks.
Yeah, exactly. Because like I work with rappers and singers, so sometimes they might belt something or they might be a little loud on some parts. They're emphasizing something too much. So I throw that on 1, and then I use the distressor for like a tone. I'll get like maybe 1 to 2, maybe 3 at most on the reduction.
So is your philosophy behind that just to try to make it so if for any reason your dynamics of the performance get wild, the take is saved, you're not going to blow the take?
Yeah, it's not going to clip or anything. And of course I run practice runs depending on who's in the booth because everyone's different, right? I just want to, 1, get a get a source audio that I feel like is solid. It sounds strong. If I go to EQ this, it'll just be like enhancing things. I try not to do too much compression in the box. If I do, it stays light. I pretty much just want something where I can like just get right to work with it. I don't have to do anything. Oh, it recorded too thin. Now I got to EQ it to try to make it sound fat again, or like, you got the audio suite in Pro Tools. I don't want to have to sit here going through the audio suite trying to bump this up or turn the gain up, and now there are certain things in the vocal that's too loud. They were far away from the microphone, so now the room is all in the recording. Like, no, let's get it good, and then whatever needs to be done afterwards. But I like starting with a good source material every time.
So do a bulk of the projects that you mix, are you also the track engineer?
Yes. Not all the time, but yeah, most likely. I know that's kind of like blasphemy in the industry, I know back in the day, going back to like the old way of things, I know like back in the day the recording engineer couldn't be the mix engineer,
right?
Because it's like
you're too close.
Yeah, you're way too close to the record. You're gonna feel like it's all on you.
And you're going to hear shit that I wouldn't because you were there when you tracked it.
Right, exactly. Now you're trying to fix problems that happened while you were tracking, but you can't do that. You might as well send them back in there to do it again. So, yeah, I know it's kind of taboo for back in the day to have both roles, but that's kind of normal nowadays, I think.
Well, it's kind of birth and necessity thing.
Right. It's good to be a jack of all the trades nowadays. People spend less money. It's just better for everybody, I think.
Yeah. Well, it makes it so you can get the ball over the line at least, or it's going to get out there,
Right.
Okay, well, let's backtrack just a little bit, and then I want to get to where we're leaving off here. Talk to me about when your career starts to go in a direction, or your musical journey starts to go in a direction where you think you want to open this studio, because cards on the table for me, I'm a former studio owner. My father owned studios. I've been around the studio business. It can be a heavy freaking lift.
Yeah.
So what makes you decide you want to take this lift on?
Just the confidence of the people going in that I went into it with. The friends, the homies, again, a lot of people from middle school that I was close with that were also rapping and just writing rhymes. Because essentially there was a point like in high school where like out of a lot of us that went to middle school together and we started writing rhymes, like I was the only one, or one of the only ones, that actually recorded and released material on like SoundCloud as a solo artist. So people knew me for rapping.
Thanks to that rock band mic?
Right, thanks to that rock band mic, bro. I made some hits off of that.
Yes. You got to put that on the wall next to your poem.
I should, right? I still have... No, I think I threw it out, actually. So, it's just a little divergence.
Yeah.
RIP to rock band mic. When I got the Blue Yeti, I said, okay, I need to practice how to perform now. So I had this mic stand for no reason. And what I did was I looked at the rock band mic. I had a whole thing. I took it out of commission. I saluted it. I literally did a whole little ceremony for it.
Hell yeah.
I took some scissors and I cut the wire.
Hell
I snipped it. And so that became the microphone that I would practice performing with. What was the question before that? It was, you said, the studio. How did the studio come about?
Yeah.
So yeah, just being confident with the guys I went into it with, because I had a homie who before he came to me with the idea, it was probably like 2018. We had just got out of high school in 2017, and I got this homie named CJ. He's the one that I run the studio with now, and he was like trying to do the same thing, but he was doing it with another homie of his who brought the idea to him. It was one of those things like the homie brought a great idea to me. The homie couldn't make it happen for whatever reason, but I love this, and this is my passion. I got friends that love doing this. I still want to do this. So he took the idea of the studio, and I feel like he just looked around at his people and was like, who do I know that's making music? He's like, okay, there's Sid, there's Chris, there's some of the other homies. Let me see if we can all put our money together and make something happen. What ended up happening was me and CJ went all the way with it. And so we started the studio. He called me, I remember, because I was working on Siesta Key in like 2019. working. I'm over here. I was the guy that was telling you to pay your meter before you leave the parking lot, or else you're getting a ticket. That was me. So I was doing that at the time, and he called me on the phone, and I'm walking around the lot. I stopped doing my job because he's on the phone talking to me about this studio. He's like, look, man, I know you don't like working your job. I know you don't want to do this all day. I know you'd rather be in the AC and working on music and putting stuff out. Like, I'm going to just hit you with the idea. How would you feel if we started a studio and I had you as my head engineer? You know, you could quit your job. You know, you can start getting paid. You could work for yourself. You could take whatever days off. You can work on music all day if you wanted to. And I mean, obviously, that sounds like a
Sold.
dream. Yeah, that sounds like heaven right there. So it was actually, I don't want to say it was to the day exactly. Today is March 10th, my birthday. This was probably like March 9th or 8th of 2019. I had left that job on CS the Key, and we started putting this idea together of how we can get this studio going. My boy already had the building. We just had to furnish it, get the equipment, do all the research. I'm learning more as we're building the studio. I'm learning about acoustics and like the panels and how they have to be in specific places, why the speakers are set where they are on the equal size like that, and why they're facing inward. I'm learning all of this other stuff. I just came from recording at the crib. At this time, I had the MXL 990 for a microphone. I upgraded to some Yamaha HS6s for my playback. I had headphones. I had a actual setup by this point. And like literally,
But you went from like 60 to Mach 1.
yeah, dog. I went from that to like having a whole facility. You know what I'm saying? So it was humbling, but it was also like waking up to the real world. Like, okay, that guaranteed paycheck ain't coming no more. Now we're working off the merit of how good is your work. You know, now people's opinions come into play and all of this other stuff. You know, it's always been a learning experience. But yeah, no, it came about though just through a friend that believed in me, that believed in his homies and wanted to see us win. And that's always been the vision, we want to see the homies and everybody else that's serious about their craft. We want to see them win.
Yeah, amen to that. Amen to that. So when you first start getting into the studio, were you just tracking vocals?
Yes, mostly. Trying to think. No, I've tried vocals. I've tried bass guitar. I haven't really worked with a lot of bands and groups, but that's something I want to get into.
Do you have a spot to do bands at your studio?
We have our Studio A is big, I think, enough for a drum set. It's just again, the research and me learning is we got to get the microphones. You know what I'm saying? We got to get the like 8-piece with the overhead mics and all that, and then I have to learn how to set it up and then how to essentially track it. I mean, I'm sure it'd be easy to track, but again, like if I need more equipment, I would like to know that. I would like to know what kind of equipment I need. I need to learn how to work that equipment, so I'm cracking open the manual. I look up the manual. If I don't have the physical manual in front of me, or if I want to learn about a piece of gear, I look the manual up on Google and I read through the whole manual.
I love that.
Yeah,
I do too. I got a PDF, or I got a folder with just the PDFs for my gear in it, so I can go.
Exactly.
I love that.
Exactly. Ain't nothing stopping this knowledge, man.
Yeah, and it's funny because people forget about the manual, I think.
Yeah.
And the answer is in there
Every time.
Every time.
You can search something up on Reddit, and if you word it wrong, you will not find it. But if you look through the manual and just take your time and just look at the look at the what's the front of the book where it tells you like where everything
the
is
little
at.
table of contents.
Yeah, like if you look through the table of contents, bro, and you at least know know the terminology. If you at least know what you're looking for, you'll find it, bro. Next thing you know, it's like, oh, I had something bypassed. Or, oh, I had a knob turned all the way. Or, oh, I didn't know what that knob did. Apparently it turns this off. It shuts this off from letting the signal through or whatever. It's just a matter of knowing your gear and stuff like that.
So what parts of your personality do you think make it so you can just go out there and empower yourself like that instead of hitting those spots and just being like, oh, shit?
I'm a Pisces sun and a Sagittarius moon. So Those are both strong philosophical signs. They say Pisces is like one of the wisest signs. I am kind of infatuated with information though, and not to toot my own horn, but a lot of people say that about me. Is like I'm like a teacher, you know, and I'm not a crab when it comes to information. Like I've had people that were so kind enough to like break stuff down and to give me breadcrumbs so that I could feed myself knowledge-wise. So why wouldn't I do that for the next person?
Right.
So when it comes to consuming information and consuming knowledge, that's what I like to do. I got ADHD. I hyperfixate on things. So if there's something that I really like again, music-related stuff, I've been diving deep into like the Tupac and Biggie beef, which I mean that's like common hip hop lore, but it's like there's stuff that you don't know, and like I just hyper fixated on that. Now I feel like I could do a master class right here and tell you what really happened between Biggie Smalls and Tupac if anybody would like to know. But like just the thirst for knowledge and information, that keeps me driven with everything I do, and so that's why I can't just feel like I can't figure this out. I don't know what to do. I can't come to that conclusion. It's literally just built in me not to do that. I can't do it.
Yeah, I love that.
I'm a very solution-based person.
We need to couch that one into a line for like a bumper sticker or something, man. That's good.
Be a solution-based person.
Yeah, solution-based people. That's
Right.
that's an interesting thing.
Yes.
And wanting to solve it for yourself. That's the real operative part of that. So what's some of the stuff when you first started tracking? Do you remember the first session you engineered solo dolo?
Ooh, that wasn't myself. Not at the or just in general at the studio or anywhere.
The first time the spotlight was on, you were Sid the engineer.
Man, I don't remember who it might have been the homie Eli. So fun fact, Sota Studios opened up on Cinco de Mayo of 20 or 21, because during the whole COVID thing, we were building the studio. Now, I will say that, not to get too far, but like we were blessed because like we didn't have to worry about keeping the business up. We just paid the rent, and the whole time we were building and furnishing. So by the time that was passing over, we opened our doors, and it just happened to be Cinco de Mayo. So I think it was the homie Eli, and I think I remember that because I still have that Hennessy bottle in my room. He came to the studio with a bottle of Hennessy back then. That was his thing. And talented individual, too. It's not like he just came to the studio looking to party. He came to work. And, I think that might have been my first session. God, that first day at the studio, I think I made like over $300, $400 that day. I was like, my eyes were like, whoa. You know? So, but yeah, like I think those are the two things that come to mind when I think about that first day. So I think the homie Eli was the first studio session.
So when you're going through, you've had a lot of firsts, it seems like this, and you've gone into them pretty seemingly just open-ended, no expectations.
Yeah.
How do you, I shouldn't presume that you don't have any fear. How do you keep the fear from, how do you make the fear stay in the backseat of the excitement? Because it seems like your excitement and your thirst to grow and learn always wins out.
Perspective. So there's this thing, like I said before, I took 4 years of dance. I did ballet, jazz, modern, hip hop. The one thing that I will say, those were some of my first times on a stage in general, was some of those dance recitals. And I used to get real nervous before going up on stage, even though we're middle schoolers and the choreography ain't that hard, but we're still new to this whole thing of performing with all these eyes on us.
Right.
And so I can't remember who it was. It might have been a staff member that worked at, because in middle school, when we did recitals, we did them at Booker High. It might have been a Booker High staff member at the time that caught wind of me being nervous, just sitting by myself, kind of
yeah.
just tweaking out in the corner, just having a whole thing. And she's like, honey, change your perspective, because the same feeling you feel when you're nervous is the same feeling you feel when you're excited.
Yep.
So it's a matter of even right now, when we were coming up here to shoot this, I was like, I don't know what we're going to talk about. I don't know what my responses are going to be. But it's I was excited though, and if I let fear win, then that means I'm nervous.
Right.
And so that, and a lot of people tell me, "Oh, Sid, you have such a stoic type of personality," which I don't agree with. I'm a philosophical person. I can shoot the shit with you all day about philosophy and about thinking differently and just different ways of looking at life. I love that, but I don't think I'm a stoic. I just feel like I feel like I have things that kind of stop me from showing too much. I have the poker face thing going on a lot. I don't really bring a lot of people into what's going on in my head or how I'm actually feeling.
Well, that's a stoic trait.
Yeah, so I'm not beating the allegations I see.
Yeah,
but
no.
So yeah, I think that's really what it is though. It's I have this thing of even if I am nervous, I'm not going to show you. It's also one of those things of being a competitor, right? As a hip hop artist, I'm competitive to be the best at what I do. So it's even if I show that I don't believe in myself, which there are times where it might come off like that, but I'm just transparent. I don't have a problem telling certain people, or if I feel the pressure is too much, I let people know yo, sometimes I'm gonna be feeling this music shit sometimes, and that's a transparent and honest feeling. But then I always come back to it and I say, this is my love. I love to do this. So no matter how I'm feeling, whether it be up here or down there, the highs or the valleys, or if I do better in life and I get to higher lows, as they say.
Yeah, right.
No matter what it is, if there's work to be done, take care of it, get it done, Again, back to philosophy and the Bhagavad Gita, which is kind of religious, it's Hindu text. They make a thing about, handling your business and getting your job done, whatever your purpose is, regardless of how you may feel, the problem's still going to be there.
Right.
Take care of it. And then you can, feel how you feel. You can feel how you feel while you're taking care of the problem. Just take care of it,
One of my favorite motivational speakers has a lot of lines, and he'll end it with, "And by all means, handle your business."
Real shit.
So
real talk.
Yeah, I'm with that 1,000%.
Right.
So you've been in the studio for a minute now.
Yeah, I live there.
What's some of the things that you think, or as they're happening to you, reaffirm that you're putting all of your time in the right basket?
I've met a lot of very talented individuals, and I've been able to travel off of this music thing.
That's huge.
I know I didn't really get too much into it when I was talking about how I got into hip hop, but another thing, I really accredit the group that I was in, Imperial, the 3 Eyes, right? A lot of people in the city knew about what the movement we had starting, right? R.I.P. Trey Godfellow. I was able to open up for Wu-Tang.
Nice.
Not the full clan. Let me stop. I didn't open up for the full clan. I opened up for Raekwon the Chef, Ghostface Killing the Jizza. Arguably, minus Method Man, the 3.
I was gonna say
the hardest of the clan. So
I got to see Ghostface and RZA in the same month on their solo tour back in the day. I'm with you on that one.
They're on their final tour, though.
Yes.
I gotta go see them.
Same.
So I got to open up for them. I opened up for Maxo Cream. I've been to California. I've seen some studios out there. Tapped in with some artists out there. Atlanta, we got the studio out in Atlanta, Wraith Studios, that CJ is also a co-owner of. So I've been able to travel. I've been able to, again, meet new artists like my dog Caleb Music out there in St. Pete, Pusha Preem, there's Big Peso, a lot of people. And then opportunities that just come to the door. I've been able to sit in on a couple of meetings, with people that are interested in artists we've recorded and people that are just interested in what we got going on. And I've been able to open my mind and say hey, wow, people are paying attention. You know what I'm saying? That reaffirms it, is the fact that going back to the last question you asked me, I could feel like I'm not doing enough. I could feel like I'm not getting anywhere. And then I have a meeting or a situation where I sit down with somebody that's taking us seriously and asking us all the right questions, and it's okay, well, somebody believes in us. You know what I'm saying? And it comes back to having to believe in yourself and handling that business.
So you think the matter of maintaining that perspective is patience?
I think so. It's real easy to it's really easy to fall out of love with something because you feel like your expectations aren't met.
Right.
I try not to put a time on any of that stuff. Like I'm 26 as of today, so it's like I feel like I still got a lot of time to like really figure myself out and grow as an artist.
For sure.
So I met people that like that were strong in the music, but they might have stopped because they weren't making any money off of it in the first like year or two of them doing it. I mean, a lot of people that are like 3 or 4 years deep into the game, and here I am like a decade. You know what I'm saying? I'm a decade in. I started this when I was 14 and I'm 26 now. But it's like you gotta be patient because again, like it might not seem like anything is happening, but you gotta grow and you got to you just gotta be patient. There's really nothing else to it, is you just have to be patient.
What do you think helps you be disciplined enough to stay consistent enough for that shit to make itself obvious to you?
Just seeing the stories. Like again, I'm a hip hop nerd. Like I could tell you, like with Nas, his first album, Illmatic, is one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time, and it wasn't received like that when it first came out. You know what I mean? People thought it was an average rap album back then. They didn't, forget about me saying it's the greatest of all time. I'm talking back then. People didn't see it as anything besides just another rapper that got signed.
No, he was
putting out
sort
an
of B
album.
Squad at that point.
Right, and he's like 17 years old. He's young. And then like just for him to become one of the faces in New York, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that takes time. Like you have to stay down. 2 Chainz didn't blow up until he was in his 30s. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of stories. Jay-Z, Reasonable Doubt got shopped to every label in New York that was looking for talent, just for them to get turned away by every single label. Dame Dash, Biggs, and Jay-Z got turned around by every label, and they started Rockefeller, and lo and behold, that's one of the most, again, another one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time was Reasonable Doubt. So it takes time.
Well, and you can almost take a mirror path with that with College Dropout.
Yes.
I mean, that got shopped all over hell and back, and if Jay and Damon wouldn't have picked that and put that one up, Lord knows what would have happened there.
Right, exactly. For better or worse, we wouldn't have Kanye. You know what I'm saying? For better or worse. But
yeah. But yeah, that's the way that racket goes sometimes.
Yeah, like you just gotta be patient, bro, and you have to be so you have to believe in yourself so much. Like the outside world might see a lot of it as cockiness, but at the end of the day, it's like if you don't believe in yourself, who will?
Well, you just touched on something there that I didn't know we'd get to in this one, but I'm going to ask you. I talk to a lot of the creative entities that come in regardless of what their discipline is about ego, because it seems to come up all the time. Mm-hmm. Ego in the rap world is almost a necessity, because if you don't portray that confidence, you're going to limit yourself. You're going to narrow your scope, okay?
Absolutely.
So when you're working with artists, even when you're developing your own stuff, how do you try to navigate the line of confidence and off-putting bravado?
I think for me is when I put on that producer hat, when I'm working. So I'll give you like 2 situations. When I'm working on my stuff, I'm putting on the Dr. Dre, the Quincy Jones, the George Martin, who worked with the Beatles. He was their producer. I'm putting on the hats of like people I consider like real great producers, great ears of music. I'm putting on my Derek hat because Derek also a great producer. He works with artists. He knows exactly what to look for. I try not to be like such a hard ass. I like to let people still be themselves, but I like to give them the direction. And if we deviate too far off the direction, I'll be like, hey, that was great and cute and all, but do you think we can kind of go back to how we had it? You know what I'm saying? Because again, it comes back to that vision, you know what I'm saying? And that's why, now to the other example, when I work with other artists, I have to understand and respect that I am a part of someone's vision. It's not even so much that I'm helping them build it. I am a part of it, but it's their vision. So at the end of the day, I can have an idea or I can give them a creative path to go down. If they're open and free and they're willing to take it, then that means their creative ego isn't so big to where they're on this high horse and I can't fuck with them or I can't give them any ideas or anything like that. It just comes down to again, communication. Sometimes some artists, they know exactly where they want to go and they might not like lash out at you for giving in a suggestion, but they might not necessarily take it up to mind. They might keep doing it how they're doing it, and I have to understand like, okay, well, they seem very confident in that because they keep trying it. I'm a firm believer in if you keep trying something and it doesn't work, that's insanity, right?
Amen.
So, but at the same time, like as an artist, sometimes it looks like you're driving yourself insane to get to a certain point, right?
True.
You're trying to get like a certain idea across. You're trying to get something to sound a certain way. It looks like insanity to a lot of people, but again, you got to be okay with that. You got to be okay going back to the ego thing. You got to be okay with looking crazy. Not a lot of people want to do that. You got to be okay with expressing yourself. Not a lot of people want to do that. All of these things kind of like challenge the ego. You have to be okay with communication and cooperation and collaboration, being able to work with other people, right? I've had situations where like certain people feel like their creative input is so great that they have to put something in on every record. Like,
Yeah.
you know, some people come to the studio to party or whatever. They might get a little drunk or they might smoke a little bit, and then the homie goes in to record, and you might hear somebody be like, "Say it like this, bruh. Change that line, bruh.
Yeah. Oh,
Go
God.
and do this like this,
man,
that
you're
way."
giving me PTSD.
You know, and like me as an engineer and as an artist, I don't really like that because I just feel like let the creative be the creative. If
100.
But if the whole room feels like, yo, that ain't it, then listen to the whole room. You know what I'm saying? But
Well, that used to be the old, after we get done with the record, we take a bounce to the club and watch the club react.
Right,
We're
right.
not afforded that luxury so much anymore.
Right. So it's like you have to add on to that. The club comes to the studio now.
Exactly.
So, you know, they got the bottles, they got the smokes,
Yeah.
the vibes. It all comes to the studio now.
Yep.
So it's like, but if that's the environment you record in, and that's the type of music you make, then that room is important.
True.
So that is important. But if you're one of those people that's like, yo, I just want to go in there and do my stuff,
You don't
then
need
it's
anybody
like-
else for that.
you might not, or you might not think you do, but like I feel like you should always be open to a little bit of collaboration. It's just when it gets obnoxious, like, hey bro, do it like this, man.
Yeah.
When it starts getting like that from A, B, C, and D from the back of the room that aren't really like even involved in the song or musically, you know what I mean?
Or
like,
they were only paying attention for that last 30 seconds.
right, or they're scrolling on TikTok the whole time and now they want to be involved in the song. It's like, come on, dog. Like, we're in here to work. Let's work. Like, if you
Yeah.
want to work, come sit over here. If you want to chill on the couch, go do that over there. Go be on the phone, do what you do. But like, you know, let the creatives do what they do. Don't, you know,
That time is money, man.
that. And I feel like for me, I don't like being distracted when I'm working because that workflow, like, you know, when you start getting into the mode and everything is going exactly how you want, it's like you can't miss, regardless if you're EQing or you're writing a song or you're recording and you're laying down the vocals. It's like I'm recording banger lines. Each one
Yes.
is good. You know what I'm saying?
And the whole world starts to drift away, and it's just that.
And it's just you in the studio. I don't want no phone calls. I don't want nobody knocking on the door. I don't want no text. I don't want to eat sometimes. When I'm locked in, I'm locked in. I gotta get it done right then and there. Because like once that distraction gets in too far into my head, the motivation is gone. You know what I'm saying? There's like the energy, that creative energy just kind of dissipates once you let other things start coming into your mind. You know what I'm saying?
100%. Well, I want to ask you something a little pointed, and then we'll get you out of here on something fun.
Okay.
You mentioned communication a whole bunch of times.
Yes.
I couldn't agree with you more that that's the cotter pin to making the whole thing work, because it's the only way to get your idea to somebody else.
Right.
Until we're neural linking each other.
One day.
Yeah. So what's maybe, if you could give somebody some advice on how to have productive communication in a creative process, what are some of the things, or maybe the number one thing you find works best for you, even if it's saying less?
Sometimes it can be saying less, you know, but at the same time, I think it's what would help a lot is us engineers, us artists, we have to communicate our ideas in ways that we can understand them. I feel like when I try to like explain to an artist what I'm doing on that computer screen, sometimes they're just like, true that. You know what I'm saying? Fire.
Yeah.
Sounds good, bro. You making that thing sound like glass.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But a lot of them truly are like interested, and some of them do have things they want to edit or remove, and they don't know how to break it down, you know, or they want to try like an effect or an idea or something, they don't know how to do it. I think having a reference, a point of reference, a song you can pull up, or maybe like a something you might have recorded before in the past that does it, some sort of point of reference, like or finding a way to meet in the middle. I think that's the answer, is finding a way to meet in the middle. Rather it's me kind of like dumbing down the geeky stuff and not like giving them like, oh, all the extra detail of what I'm doing, but more so like, oh, well, here's how you get to that. You just load this up and it's a preset. Boom. Now you got the telephone effect or all of that stuff like that. I think it just comes down to the language. Artists learning a little bit of the engineering world, and then also the engineer, because sometimes I feel like sometimes my creative ego is up there, right? And sometimes I'm like, as an engineer, like, yo, nobody can't tell me shit, you know? I got this job in the bag. I'm about to make every song I touch I got Midas touch on everything I touch. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it feels like that. And like, so I find myself kind of being a little off-put by some of the ideas the artist might throw. Again, stepping back from that ego and remembering this is a collaborative space. And though I am a part of their vision, it's still a collaboration. All ideas are welcome. All ideas are welcome. If they can be visualized, if they can be broken down in a simple way, it's real easy to get to it. But that's like the one thing in the studio that kind of makes the process hard sometimes. And sometimes you don't know where the artist is going.
Right.
So you just got to be... You have to have like a real good relationship with that producer for them to really just get it off rip. There are clients that I record where they might be trying to say something, or they might be trying to break an idea down to me and they don't know how to say it, and I'm like, oh, I know exactly what you're trying to do. And then there are some people where I'm like, dog, I'm not gonna lie, you're gonna have to show me you're gonna have to show me a song or something of what you're talking about, because I have no idea what you're trying to tell me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's a good card to be able to pull, though. Just give me a reference.
Right, exactly.
You know?
I think in anything, because if I could just listen to it, all right, I could do that. Or no, I don't think I can do that. It's that simple.
Yeah.
You know?
At least it gives you a chance to, you know, make a path forward.
Is that, or you spend like 20 minutes trying to figure out what either one of you were talking about. And now you've got like 30 minutes in the session because we spent this whole time working on this one line that you're trying to do this funky effect on.
We remixed the remix and got it back to normal.
Oh, God.
I've done that before. All right, well, we'll get you out of here on something fun.
Beautiful.
If you could pick one artist to work with right now, like if we could walk out this door right now, go to the studio, and that artist is there waiting for you, who would you like to work with?
A lot of people that know me for making hip hop would probably think I would say Kendrick Lamar, who is one of my favorite artists, one of my favorite modern artists. I like just art in general, but Dr. Dre. Because Dr. Dre is, again, he's one of the hats. When I am in the room as a producer and not just the engineer or not just the artist, when I'm producing the record, which is kind of like the overall building of the record for people who don't know, is not just making the beats. That's a new age thing. The producer is not always the beat maker.
It's funny, that's one thing I had EJ suss out.
Right. Like
what does producer mean?
The producer is the head honcho in the room that's putting the record together, right? DJ Khaled is a producer. He might not DJ, he might not play anything, but he's the one that gets the beat made. He's the one that makes the call and say these artists should be on this record, and he puts it together. That's what a producer does. They produce.
Right.
But Dr. Dre, he's one of the greatest producers of this hip-hop thing. You know what I mean? Look at the discography. Look at the artists he's worked with. Look at the Tupacs, the Kendricks, the Anderson .Paaks, the Mary J. Bliges, the Eminems, and 50 Cents. Like some of the greatest artists in urban music history and culture.
Coming out the roller rink.
Right, like he has this way of like either bringing the best out of artists or just knowing how to help them find themselves. There's a video of the new it's called Missionary. It's the studio album that Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg just put out. Because you know Snoop Dogg's got Doggy Style. It was his first album. They just put out an album called Missionary. There's a video of them in the studio and Dre is coaching Snoop Dogg on how to say a line. This is Snoop Dogg, one of the most acclaimed rappers in the world, worldwide. You know what I'm saying? The coolest, calmest voice is getting coached. You know what I'm saying? But the way that he does it is like, he's like, yeah, bro, I know you could do it better, or like, I know you could do it like this. So like, even when I'm working on artists, I like to think when I'm working with certain artists, I'm their Dr. Dre because they ask me for direction. It's one thing to offer everyone direction, but it's like when people actually ask you like I need guidance with what I'm doing. I don't come to the studio a lot. I would like to. I'm not used to recording. I don't know how to use my voice. I gotta guide them. I gotta show them how to be the artist that they want to be, but I gotta show them that they can do it.
Right.
And that's what I see about Dr. Dre when he works with people, is like he brings that out. It's like, you can be a better artist. You're great already, but let's take you to that next level. At least that's what I notice with the people he works with. So I personally would like to work with Dr. Dre because as an engineer and a rapper, I feel like I could learn from him. And just a record producer putting records together. I would love to see what's his thought process behind knowing what a hit record is, or
Right.
knowing what is what. You know, this record could go this, I don't know, like there's things that I don't know that I feel like he does know, and he's the guy.
Right. Yeah, that going back to the the knowledge,
Right.
the experience of knowledge.
Right, absolutely. Even EJ, I want to, if you're watching this, EJ, I hope that mentorship is still on the table. I asked you years ago, but I wasn't ready. I'm on Pro Tools now. I'm ready.
Yeah, huge shout out
Yeah,
EJ.
EJ, man,
Yeah,
for
he's
real.
K the family forever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Sid, I can't thank you enough for coming down, man. We definitely gonna have to get some stuff going in the future.
Absolutely.
You're K the family now, man, whether you like it or not.
Woo, I love it.
So you're always welcome. You got a record you're gonna drop, you got something you gotta do, you always got a home here, man.
Thank you, man. Yeah, hopefully I got some, like I was saying before we started today, I got some stuff I'm working on, a couple songs, project, getting my content and everything together, because nowadays you can't just drop music. You gotta have the content to come out with it.
I'm working on a juggling act to enhance my music. Really? No. But I'm contemplating it.
Hey, look, that's unique. So people would definitely be into that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like singing and juggling or something like that, or like, I don't know, playing something. If you can find a way to play an instrument while juggling, I feel like that would just,
I'll play synth with my feet. I'm good.
that'd be gas.
See, we might have just launched some right there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
All right,
bro.
well, when we get the juggling thing together, we'll have you back, if not sooner.
I'll be here for that. I'll be here.
Thank you,
Eric, man, thank you for having me, brother. Thank you.
Always, man.
Absolutely. That
Hell
was
yeah.
beautiful.